Hey, good morning everybody, and welcome to ITHive.org's live tech show in the midst of a snowstorm. And but that's okay. You get to see what the weather's like here in Almont, Ontario, every Saturday morning at 10. So, and a little added feature. Anyway, so on with things. Today is episode 7, February 2nd, 2019. And we're going to continue with what we were talking about, the 3 pillars of service that we offer our customers. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about backup, right, and how important backup is, and that would, save the day in any case, right? I can't stress that enough. And then last week we talked about security. And of course, those 2 services have to report back to us on their health and how they're working. Okay? So, overall, with your technology, the third part of this is that we monitor the general health of your systems, right? Whether it be your network or your computers or whatever it is, right? Now, why is that important? Okay, so the reason this is important is that when you have an issue with your technology, for us technicians, if we don't have any history or what's happened in the past with that, it's very often, the solution is never really a hard thing, right? But finding the cause of the problem is the issue, right? And if we don't have any technical history or any kind of trending information or anything like that, it makes our jobs even more difficult. And what does that mean to you as a business owner or a residential customer? It means time, right? It means time that it's going to take to solve the problem. It means more time that you're going to pay for a technician to solve the problem, right? Additional frustration, if you're dealing with a problem that's causing your business to lose money the longer it exists, right? All those things are there. So, what the health monitoring gives us, okay, over time, it gives us a profile of how that machine works and how it runs. We're dealing with personal computers here, and that's exactly what they are, right? Personal computers, right? You have a system that you customize to yourself, right? You use it in ways that other people don't, right? So it creates a very unique environment and a very unique possibility of unique problems, right? And having that technical information and the history just aids with being able to solve and support you, right? The other aspect with this too is that when I have a customer call me, right, and they say, "Oh, hey, this isn't working right," or "I'm having a problem here," the very first thing I do is look at the current health of their system. And if I see green check marks everywhere, right, well, I know that those things are working, and those aren't the cause of the issue. So it has to be something else, right? So again, quicker to the solution, right? And the reverse is true too. So we can prevent problems from occurring, right? So let's say here's a classic Windows issue, and some of you might know this or not, but Windows has never ever liked to run out of space on the main drive, and it starts to experience issues and performance problems as that space decreases, right? Well, with the advent of solid-state drives, which are typically smaller and stuff like that, it becomes more of an issue. So one of the things, and there's many things that we monitor on a system, is the space on the hard drive, right? So if that space gets below a certain threshold, right, we start to see warnings and alerts, right? And then I have set up for my customers on the Windows side, right? Can't do this on the Apple side because it's Apple, right? But on the Windows side, right, I have some jobs that we run, and we do some non-aggressive cleaning up of files when that situation comes up, right, to help alleviate that problem automatically, right? But if that doesn't work, then that becomes a ticket in our system, and it's an alert that, okay, we need to spend some time with this customer and solve that problem. And why is that important? Well, okay, so the problem goes unresolved, right? And the computer runs out of space, right? You turn on your computer, it might not come up. And depending on what that computer does, right, it could cause some cost or frustration. So we're getting ahead of the problem before it becomes a problem, right? And that's where the health monitoring is so important, because, and that's just one example, right? We also monitor key services that run in the background. And one thing I got to say about computers is, they're getting better and better for sure, right? And they're getting more able to meet our needs and whatnot, and easier to use and all that stuff. But all of that ease of use, right, creates a lot of complexities in the background. And the thing that what a lot of people don't understand is that those complexities, right, when you're using your computer, there's hundreds of programs running in the background, all doing stuff, right? Very, very complex environment. And the easier it is created for us, right, the more complexity is back there. So when something goes wrong, right, it's even harder to find what the issue is. So our health monitoring, what we do is there's key aspects of your operating system that have to be working, right? And we monitor those. So when things aren't happening, or a program's failing, or a service in the background's failing, or stuff like that, that shows up in our system, right? And then we know, hey, look, here's a problem. And then that leads us to a quicker solution, because we can try and find out, okay, well, what's caused that issue, right? And then in turn solve it. So other examples, I know, well, some of you out there may have suffered a hard drive failure, right? Now, this isn't a silver bullet, because all hard drives are different, right? But a lot of the time when you're about to have a hard drive failure, the hard drive actually reports that back to the operating system and says, hey, I'm having problems, writing or saving stuff, right? Now, the technology is built to compensate for that, right? But usually that event is a telltale sign that your hard drive is about to fail. So even though for you as a user of the system, you might not see any issue, right? The computer might be a little bit slower or something like that. But that problem, or that pretense of a problem, shows up for us, right? And then the course of actions I do, of course, tickets open, stuff like that. What we always do is we will start to investigate that, right? And we, run some further diagnosis on the hard drive, right? Definitely get the client to back up their data just to be safe, right? And that's exactly right, Caroline. We can find a problem before it becomes obvious to the user, right? And that, again, of course, is what we want to do, right? We want to fix that problem when it's a 5-minute solution or a 10-minute solution, as opposed to hours, right, or days, or a loss of data in the case of a hard drive failure, right? So we have to get ahead of it, So that's why the health monitoring is so important. So this is kind of, and there's lots of other stuff, right? And one thing I got to say here, for some clients, what we've done is they run some specialized software, right? And so we have the ability to actually create our own customized monitoring so that we can tell, if you're running some software that is crucial to the business, and it needs to run. It doesn't take much for us to build a little utility or whatever to monitor that and say, okay, this has to be there, right? Or any other kind of, an existence of a file or anything, right? So a very customized approach for residential or business clients. If there's something that you need to know about all the time, right? Well, we can add that into our monitoring system and customize for a particular machine or for your entire business, whatever the case may be. And that's so important, right? It all goes back to all of this. When I talked about the backup monitoring, the security monitoring, and now the health monitoring, it all ties back to being aware of a situation, being able to reach out and solve it before it becomes a much, much bigger problem, right? It's not good enough to simply say, I turn on my computer and I can log in, it must be working. That is not always the case. You can have problems that are not obvious to you, as Caroline pointed out, and we bring that to light and be able to communicate to you and tell you, what's happening here and what risks you have, and then we, fix it when it's a small issue, right? So, anyway, that is what I wanted to talk about today. So, done that, and my phone is slowly getting covered in snow. So I think we're going to close it off for this Saturday. Like always, if you watch this after the fact, you can feel free to ask questions, post things. If you're interested in what we have to say and you want to become a customer, right, just reach out to us, right? Shoot us an email, or on any platform that we're at, and express an interest, and I'll send you some info, and then you can decide how things are going, right? And yes, of course, so we're taking the frustration out of technology. Another good point there. What else do I want to say here? Oh yeah, one thing, I got a confession to make here. Education is so important if you run a business, right? And I definitely don't pretend to know everything, right? And so one of the issues is I'm really working hard to promote the business on social media and get that going, right? And I went to a search engine optimization meeting, and sorry, I can't remember fellows did it. I would give them a plug, but I can't. Anyway, it's really funny here. We, and this is I'm going to mention this because it's a little thing that has big ramifications. And for me, being a tech, I miss this, right? So if you own a business, go to google.c or .com/my business, right? If you haven't set that up for your business, do it. Okay? It's not that hard, it's not that difficult, but it gives you more exposure when people do searches. The funny thing for me is that when we came back to Ontario, when we brought the business back to Ontario, we spent a lot of time, focused, and we have a strong sense of family here, and my mother owned a store, and it was struggling a little bit, and I actually set that up for my mom's store, and in my head I thought that I had done this for my own business, but I failed to do it for my own business. So that's been fixed now. So if you're an existing customer, or we've done work with you in the past or whatever, right? Please rate us on Google, because we are there now. All right. So anyway, that's my plug for you business owners. Go to google.com/my business, and if you haven't done that, do it. Okay? so important. It'll help you out. All right. We'll talk to you all next Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. If you're in Ontario, enjoy the snow. Isn't that pretty back there? Right? Looks nice. Spring's coming eventually. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.